Welcome to the discussion segment of Good Morning Anambra today, Tuesday, 6th day of May 2025. How are you? Sure you're already seated? Welcome. My name is Sicham and I have my AJ with me.
Yeah, I'm Ajuluchuku Okabwe. This morning we'll be talking about something very, very important to our political activities in this part of the world. And then the discussion is going to be on Nigeria's season of mass political defections. I'll see it as, will I call it permutation and the rest of it, or because all these things are gearing towards what's going to happen 2027, and those that are trying to probably save their head and get into the broom party where all your sins are forgiven.
Okay. And we have guests that has joined us to look at that. They are Barrister Chris Arukwe. Barrister Chris Arukwe is the public affairs analyst. Good morning, Barrister. Okay. We also have Dominic Okabwe, also a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Dom.
Good morning, our viewers. Good morning, Nigerians.
You're welcome, gentlemen. When we have this kind of case, we usually gather people that should know. Apart from being a public affairs analyst, Dominic is a politician. And then, apart from being a public affairs analyst, Barrister Chris Arukwe is a legal practitioner. So you guys should tell us exactly what all this movement is all about. Some people call it prostitution. Let me start from with you, Barrister Arukwe. What is this movement all about? Are there no longer checks and balances on how you move from one political party to another?
I would like to borrow the word you started with, the prostitution. That is, what it means is that bag for grand, money for hand and all that. That's the kind of slogan we grew up with. And that is what is replicating in the system. We have an emotional situation in Nigeria where anything you do now is not a crime, not a problem, provided you're in the correct group, so to say. You call it mass defection. You hardly would, I would hardly not be associated with mass. Who are the masses? A group of, I don't want to use words unnecessarily. At Arise the other day, they were using all sorts of words. Started with the lawyer there in Embe. He was so emotional about the defection, so to say. The ex-wire governor of Delta State was in for interrogation by EFCC, and the interrogation unraveled egregious circumstances of money missing from his tenure. And the incumbent governor also had some things to maybe hide. And immediately he was released from such detention. He came back, and the only way he could still stay above the waters was actually to join the winning team. And the winning team is APC. And immediately you're in that bandwagon. All your sins are cleansed, all your blemishes are all removed. You become a saint and a sparkling gentleman. So Kowa, in order to impress the masters, the new masters, he had to bring a mass of group of people promising heaven and earth, promising to turn an SYPDP stronghold into an APC new conquered territory. So if you think about logically that there's a mass defection, it defeats the reasoning that there's anything mass about it, because the voting masses are actually not along with them. These people are bureaucrats who have stolen or deemed to have dipped their hands into the tails of the treasury, looted and done with our money unspeakable things that we should not talk about on television for world view. These are people who are jumping the ship. They normally say the rats are the first to jump the ship, a sinking ship. And these are the kind of people who come here to waste our time discussing. It's not worth the time, actually. It's not worth the time. The law has made it very nubile for them. The law is lax, not covering the governors, but only covering the National Assembly, not even the State Assembly. So you can jump on 68(1)(g) of the Constitution makes it just that it must be the members of the Parliament, the National Parliament, not any of the other subsidiaries. Because one, it was just to cure the defect of the Western region where the cross-carpeting led to the fall of the First Republic, and that burgeoned into all the crises that came out from there, assassinations and all the military interventions and all that. We haven't cured from it, and we're still trying to get back to it. They replaced the parliamentary system that led to the collapse of the SY government of Western region with a democracy kind of style, making sure that when you cross carpet or when you decamp, it will not affect the governance of the state and all that. That's the background of all these defections.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okabwe, now, as the politician, do you see this defection as the norm of the day, and how does it leave the ideology? You understand? Because you're bringing in people that doesn't align with your own political ideology. How then do you accommodate all of these people with different ideology, all in the same place, trying to get a country that is already, fragile when you talk about the democracy entity of it working?
Okay, thank you. Well, before we go into the concept of ideology, I want us to understand the fundamental basis for the defection in the first place. And I want to do that by putting a political icon, Nnole, in his book, 1986. He said that politics is all those activities, directly or indirectly, associated with the seizure, consolidation, and the use of state power. I think this definition of politics by Nnole actually summarizes the entire scenario we are talking about as it concerns the issue of defection. Now, let me also add that everything that is happening as regards to mass defection is centered on interest, because according to Hans Morgan, he said there is no permanent friend in politics, neither there is permanent enemy. That what is permanent in politics is interest. So you have to get these two concepts, the concept of interest, before you talk about ideology.
The interest, is it meant to serve the masses or to serve individuals?
That is where I'm coming now.
Okay.
And that is where I want to relate it to the issue of ideology you talked about.
Yeah.
For let me tell you, when we talk about ideology, there is nothing like ideology among these politicians moving from one party to another. Look at the ideology.
Or generally, Nigerian politics.
In the context of Nigeria, over there in the US, you have the Republicans, you have the Democrats, and you can study the ideology, and whatever they do in terms of policies and programs aligns with the party ideology of the party. But here in Nigeria, none of these guys moving from one party to the other. They're not moving because they want to protect the ideology of PDP or the ideology of the APC.
Because there was no ideology.
That's not ideology. And they're not being guided by the principle of ideology. They are being guided by their personal interest. Now let me tell you, the governor of Delta State, who just moved from PDP to APC, he moved because of his ambition in 2027, knowing fully well that the big guys that was with him before, most of them has moved to the APC, and that is threatening his return in 2027.
The governor, the former governor?
the current governor of Delta State,
Okay.
even the former governor of Delta State, just like the council said, he had issue with EFCC, and the only way for him to exonerate or to be vindicated is to move from PDP to the APC so that his sins will be forgiven. Just like the former governor of Edo State, Adams Chumole, said, come to APC and your sins will be forgiven. So we need to understand the situation we found ourselves in Nigeria. There's no credible opposition.
It's a very horrible situation. There's no credible opposition. I like that, but we're coming back to that because I think that's where all this problem is hinging on. Barrister Alokwe, you had wanted to give us the background of this defection. Let us now look at it this way. Or how did it start? What problem did it create? And then, is there any law guiding defection or carpet crossing or any kind of this kind of political movement?
Yes, there's what they call mischief and lacuna in law. There's a whole lot of gap in the Constitution. When you become aware of Section 40, which is freedom of association, if you stretch it, it includes freedom to associate with another group of people for actualization of your own particular interests, freedom to join a trade union, freedom to join another type of political association. So a lot of things we do are covered under Section 40, especially our movement from one point to the other. So somebody can go to court and stand firmly on Section 42 and win a lot of things. So that is one gap.
Section 42 is that it covered 40. It covered political movements. Movement.
When they say movement, movement means not physical movement. Legal movement. Me trying to join an association is a movement.
Okay.
So then, Section 68 IG only itemized, because in law, what is not included is excluded. When you don't mention this thing, if my name is not mentioned, I am not included in the list of people who are attending Abuja, for example. That's tough. So in that place where the law just prescribed and mentioned the people who can defect under the guise that's a marginalization, a factionalization, a crisis, or mergers. Because if two parties merge and you were used to be in an SY party, the law permits you to cut, to move up, to pot. So these are the gaps. So it didn't cover the governors. It didn't cover the House members. It only particularly mentioned the National Assembly members, because they were looking at the major problem of Western Nigeria when they were drafting. They didn't know that it will also become problematic that the governor, Potts, moves away from the people, the constituency that gave him legitimacy just the other day, and leave them in a chaotic state of helplessness.
Now, can't that same constitution be touched in such a way that you abdicate that office and go contest a fresh election?
It is why
that one is in electoral law.
That is why we are here. Because why we are here is that even that Section 68 didn't make it automatically mandatory that immediately you defect, you are deemed to have lost your seat. It makes it nebulous, because it says that it's the Speaker that should declare your seat vacant. And the Supreme Court has not done well enough by deeply defining, through judicial intervention, judicial activism, what is this defection and what does it amount to? What is the punishment? What is the immediate result that you moved from here to there? If they had taken the defection of the 27 legislatures in Rivers State, for example, if they had taken it seriously, we would not have been here today. Because a couple of courts have said that defection, courts of people on defection, and they lost their seat. But the Supreme Court needed to pronounce on it because they will create a judicial precedent that will guide other courts in determining whether a defection has happened or not. Now, what the Supreme Court did was to say that, one, for you to have defected, you need to have your name in the register of the new political party you have defected to. You need to have a card of the new political party you have defected to. If when you have not done that, and the old political party have not taken action to expunge your name from their old register,
You have not defected.
you have not defected. Maybe you have expressed an intention to defect, but effectively, legally, and tenaciously, you have not defected. That's the lacuna. And that is all the object of interpretation. And somebody said, affidavit, that these people swore to an affidavit and in court that they have defected. And in law, they say the affidavit is the best evidence because you are dealing with an evidence on oath. In all prior material, those people defected because they have also sworn on oath that they have defected. By affidavit, they filed in court. What killed the matter all the way is that FUBRA went under the guise of negotiating with Wike, withdrew the case, and aborted the process. The Federal High Court would have risen to the occasion by saying that this affidavit evidence is enough to ground an allegation of defection. But since you have withdrawn the case, there are no other enabling circumstances of fact that the Supreme Court,
that there was a
yes,
defection.
that the Supreme Court can lay their hands. And then under FUBRA also shot himself in the leg. Because one, through his own chicaneries, he went and demolished the State House of Assembly, making it impossible for these people who are appointed under the Constitution to perform their duties. So at the time you demolish their houses, you have made it impossible for them to sit in order for the Speaker to perform a duty prescribed under the Constitution. And therefore, you cannot, after burning this house, you will tell me that Ajul is not broadcasting.
There could be a makeshift of what which you need.
No, that is not provided in the House of Assembly. A court must sit in the court. You know, the law is specific on some things.
Okay, let's talk about some concerns that these defections have actually been bringing. Now, concerns that has been raised about these mass defections, people, political bigwigs leaving the PDP and joining APC. And now, coming to you, Okabwe, don't you think this might be so worrisome that we'll be tilting towards a one-party system in this democratic climb that we find ourselves? What do you think about that? A one-party system where there is no opposition. Obviously, anything the party does will take it. What's your take on that?
Obviously, the statement is undisputed. It's an undisputed fact that the mass defection is, heading the country into a one-party system, which is not healthy for our democratic consolidation. Yeah. You see, like I said earlier, there is need for, viable opposition in order to, enhance good governance. But looking at the scenario we have seen ourselves today, the PDP has failed in their role to, actually form a strong opposition. With this defection, it means that there's no strong opposition, there's no credible opposition, and the implication is that it is going to affect our democratic consolidation, in the sense that if what is happening today continues, by 2027, the APC might be, it's possible that the APC will be controlling like about 25 states. Do you understand? And the implication is that we're gradually turning into a one-party system. So it is not healthy for the country. But I think there are things we are supposed to be doing as an opposition party, which the PDP and other emerging parties are not doing. Do you understand? There's need for alliance. Look at what happened in 2013 in the build-up to 2015 election, when there was crisis in PDP over the Nigerian Governors Forum issues between Amaechi and the rest of them. It became obvious that the PDP was in crisis internally at that time. It was then that the APC, CPC, AMPP, ACN, and some part of APGA saw that lacuna in PDP and they were able to form an alliance. It was that alliance that gave them the leverage to defeat the former president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, and they saw the emergence of President Tinubu. So if you think your institution is not strong enough to give you the leverage you needed, what you need to do is to form what we call political alliance.
Now, talking about forming this political alliance with the way things are right now, it's been said in different quarters, different fora, that even the APC currently have planted moves to destabilize most of the opposition. How true is that when you're talking about people, the party getting weaker and in disarray? Don't you think that this, there's no smoke without fire with these allegations about moves being planted, considering how the role Wike played at the last presidential election, even up till now?
The point is not about planting moves. It is about your plan as a party. What is your plan? Yes, you have enemies, yet you exist. Messi and Ronaldo, in every match, they are being closely marked. Does it stop them from scoring goal? The answer is no. They will still score goal, even when they are closely marked. The issue we're talking about here is not whether a mole has been planted or not. It is about your strategy. It is about your political alliance. Do you understand? Your ability to, combine forces, come up with strong gladiators, articulate your interests, aggregate them. What would be our interests, our various interests, articulate them, move as a force. That is actually what they lack.
Okay, talking about alliance now, if we are asked as a consultant to talk about how many political parties that are supposed to come together and how they're going to do it to form a formidable alliance to contest with APC. So which parties will you bring together?
It is obvious. It is obvious. One, we have the PDP, we have the Labour Party, and we have the party championed by SDP. We have SDP, and we also have the one championed by in Kano State.
ANPP.
We have at least 4 major political parties. Now the APC has become so strong.
It ain't APGA.
No. APGA will have our own agenda. Yes, we have our own agenda as the foremost political party, the foremost progressive political party. Do you understand?
So you cannot align with any party.
When that time comes, we make our stand open. But we're talking about this is national as it regards the 2027 election. So these 4 political parties, not stop them from the gladiators coming together, articulate their interests, aggregate it, and then form a strong force that would be more capable enough to unseat the APC, especially when there is lacunas. I remember when Rai Mohammed was criticizing the PDP then, he was criticizing constructively. This is the kind of
consistently.
This is the kind of criticism I expected from these opposing political parties against the APC, but they're not doing it. How best can you unseat somebody? Is by criticizing the person, especially in areas where the person has performed poorly. It's by coming up with ideas that people can verify. So many things have gone wrong. We're not here to criticize, but we're here to say the obvious.
No, but it's true. But whenever we're talking about this here, I'll always say that while we're having some of the political issues even economical that we're having in this country, it's because we don't have a viable opposition political party. That is why we're having most of the problem. Look at the spate of insecurity in Nigeria, and nobody is talking about that. Look at the spate of insecurity. That alone is enough for you to wrestle power out of APC, because it simply means they can't do it. So why is it that our opposition political parties are not talking? Is it a case of having woes or within them that would discourage you from criticizing the government in power?
Okay, you talk about having moves. Okay, last month there was a meeting of PDP governors, and the issue of alliance was raised. Do you understand? Especially those who are currently doing their second term. They said they didn't see the need for an alliance. This statement went against against those who are seeking for second term, because they know that they cannot make it except through a formidable alliance. So you cannot use the same method and expect different results. You must change your method. There's need for a paradigm shift politically, so that you can form a formidable opposition.
Okay. Now, Barrister, when you started talking, you first of all fought the topic lineup which said mass defection, and you said that there is no mass defection anywhere, though the like in the case of Delta State, we know that is predominantly PDP state. That it was only the government instruments, the governor, perhaps the deputy that left, perhaps the speaker, because otherwise the speaker would have done his job if he didn't live with them, okay, by declaring that place vacant. Now that you have moved with a mandate that will give you as a governor, you will move with it to the political party, your seat is vacant, okay. So now, how do you see the forthcoming election in Delta State? Are you now saying that the people, the masses did not move with the governor and his people?
I want to say that, and I want to maintain that I said that what we are witnessing is what they call our optics, and it's all for personal agenda. And some of these people promise what they cannot deliver. As somebody, Ibori is also in APC, has joined them on all that. So it's just a ganging up. If they don't have money to influence the electorate, the voting masses, the masses will vote by their choice. If elections are not rigged, the masses know where they stand. They know they don't have good governance. They know that this governor has not provided roads. They know that their children are going to school in dilapidated structures and all that. There are pictures that we see from Delta. You see the pictures of children crossing dangerous rivers through a falling tree and all that. And the man is wasting the state resources, telling us he defected with a mass of 3 million people, 700 million people. Those things are just for the optics. As far as I'm concerned, politics is actually the voting masses. It's different. How they feel is different. It's just that the votes, do they really count? Do they really count? These are manipulation. If they don't tell you about the beavers cracking and all that stuff, did we not know who voted under the presidential system of governance? Or would any Nigerian who is of a discernible mind don't know who he voted for? I, for one, if you take a census of people who we voted for, all of us here in the studio can say that we voted for this particular candidate. Did our vote actually translate to what we voted for? So these things are camouflages through which they use to tell the people that the PDP had moved into, coalesced into APC, so that the picture will be drawn by 2027 that PDP collapsed into APC in 2025. So these things are camouflages. They are not the basic problem of this country. These things, these deflections are not nothing. They're just small screens. Somebody, if we are in small associations, in my town union thing, we have a constitution which I helped to draft. If you're leaving Lagos to come and join us in Oka, you must get a certificate of clearance from Lagos executive saying that you're in a good financial standing. Somebody is asking, when an idiot moves from a reject from one political party moves to another political party, are there no scrutinies? Are there no questions asked? Why are you leaving? What of this EFCC matter? No. Have you emptied it out?
You don't experience that.
These things are things that are more important. If for me, I would stop all this EFCC thing. I would just say, but Obasanjo took a decision. Immediately he came in on power. Hussein was still around and all that. He said, come forward and tell us what you will return. It's better to do it that way. It's costly. Litigation is costly. And it doesn't end because there are technicalities. This person brings 4 sons. This person brings 10 sons. It goes on and on. It's a ridiculous, circuitous journey.
All right. We are still looking at the implication, the electoral implication of this mass defection. Okay, let's just the defection because Barrister Arukwe has is not comfortable with the idea of mass defection. Okay, because we have not seen anybody defected apart from the government's apparatus. Okay, we'll take a break here. When we come back, we're still going to look at the implication of this, the electoral implication of the defections. We'll take a break here.
Basically, we should know that as far as this country is concerned, whenever we are approaching electioneering season like that, defection is always very common. You understand? So it is not a new thing because mostly the politics in this country is always about self-interest. You understand? So politicians actually defect to where they feel their interest will be better served. So that's just my opinion. So, but to me, it's not a new thing. It's a very common phenomenon. At least, if I'm not mistaken, right from 2003. In 2003 election, we experienced this. In 2007, the same thing, and I think even 2011. So it's a common phenomenon with Nigerian politicians. It's always about self-interest, and I think the earlier we the masses know all this, I think the better for us.
Because of amounts of power, like this party has more power, they believe that the other party has more power than the one they are currently in. So they are trying to like go join in the winning team, because you won't tell someone to leave to be in a losing team while there's a winning team. So they all move to the winning team. That's why I think that is causing it.
If one of the major reasons why people actually defect from one political party to another is basically for greater heights now, and then secondly is greater vision. That's one of the reasons why I feel people actually defect from one political party to another. And a situation whereby a political personnel in an existing political party does no longer see a vision that is achievable. So therefore, the person actually defects from one political party to another. So that is one of the reasons why, one of the major reasons, when there is no vision in that existing political party. That's one of the major reasons why I feel some political personnel defect from one political party to another.
Joining us on Good Morning Anambra this Tuesday morning, where we are talking about the effects of mass defections in our political space. And we still have in the studio here our guests talking about Barrister Chris Arukwe and Dominic Okabwe. Okabwe. Well, we heard it from our street parliamentarians here, and then we want to believe that, like what Lawa said, that most of this defection doesn't even bear anything on Nigerians, as in our political game players already have permutated what the outcome of the next election is going to be. But if that be the case, why would federal government be spending huge sum of money on electoral reforms, sponsoring INEC to conduct a free and fair election if everything has been written? So why do we waste this scarce money trying to do all of these things if our vote actually doesn't count, like what one of our street parliamentarians said? Dominic.
Okay. I want to come from a view that is slightly different from the position of the learned council.
Okay.
And my stand is that the ongoing defection, we said let's avoid the word mass, because according to the council, he said it's not, the governors are not moving with the masses. But the truth of the matter is that it has a huge implication. As a matter of fact, as we get towards 2027 election, it is not only peculiar, but also bureaucratic and laborious for the PDP to win in Delta State. Do you understand? It will be absolutely difficult, if not impossible. Whenever the chief executive officer of the state moves from one political party to the other, he controls the resources of the state. He controls the major segment of the state. He has the instrument of the security architecture of the state. The outcome will surely reflect in any election conducted in that state. And I will give you an example. The former governor of Ebonyi State, David Umahi, was a member of the PDP and was elected first under the platform of the PDP. When he moved from PDP to the APC, since ever he defected, Ebonyi State has been under the control of APC till today. Another example was in Edo State. Do you understand? You see, when the former governor had issue with so many people and there was mass defection to APC, it actually reflected in the election that was recently conducted. The instances are much. So the point I'm trying to make is that the defection has huge implication on the voting behavior of the people in the next coming election. It happened in 2013 when there was mass defection from PDP, due to the issue they had there.
Dominic, are you saying that the practice of Nigerian politics is stomach infrastructure basic and not ideology based?
Ideology only exists in theory, but in practice, it doesn't exist. That's what we call political theory. These are permutations structured to guide our operations and conduct as persons. But when it comes to practice,
it doesn't guide
you. It doesn't exist.
It doesn't guide you.
Nobody asks you what is the ideology of PDP so that it will guide my voting behavior. As a matter of fact, 90% of the citizens today, they will come to the polling booth. If you don't give them money, they will not vote. Okay, will you now come to the polling booth to begin to explain the manifesto of your party on the day of election?
But that is why these contestants have 90 days to campaign.
You see, you're talking about campaign.
Because that campaigning is where you begin to sell your ideas, your ideology, your manifesto, then let it enshrine in the minds of the people that this is what you intend to do once you assume office.
You're talking about manifesto. These are things that I did. These are things that is expected of the electorate to know. But when it comes to the D-Day, people don't, if you don't share money during campaign, no, but if the moment you are leaving the campaign arena, people will be speaking evil against you. You brought us
Honorable Okabwe, do you know that it's against the law for you to share money on election days? So let's play it down.
No,
let's play it
down. About sharing money. It's not acceptable. But we're talking about the reality of what is happening.
Okay, let's play that. And then what I want us to bring out now is what happened during the 2023 election. Though you'll be saying that this is a state election, But when we want to talk about general election, I think that's something we noticed during the 2023 election. Barrister, I'm coming to you. There is, Nigerians developed a voting pattern for themselves, okay, whereby they said, okay, even if, though I am in APC, but I don't like the candidates that APC have fielded for the National Assembly, so I am going to vote this one that is in PDP or this one that is in APGA. Okay, are you saying that we cannot experience the same thing in a state whereby the chief executive, the governor, defected with the mandate of a political party that voted you in power, and then when next election comes, are people not going to adopt the same method to ensure that they get back to you, especially if they feel bad about what you did?
That is exactly what my Abga brother is talking about, that the might includes resources, dictates the outcome of elections in Nigeria, and he was bold to say that. But I want to say that I oppose him very vehemently that it is not so, because I know that Labour Party, for example, had very little resources to share, and yet they made tremendous impact across Nigeria. They didn't share money in Lagos, and obviously they won Lagos. They didn't share money in Rivers State, and obviously the party won Rivers State. It's controversial. Wike has confessed to all this in one of his theoreticals. He said this is the man that won the election and all that. We know that Peter Obi, for example, it's not very particular. It's not good to particularize it, but we cannot run away from the fact that what is happening in this country now has turned the neck of Nigerians. That is no longer the issue of political party. People are no longer interested in your name, your APC, your PDP. People are now interested in someone that looks like this is the man who can do this job. The people we've even voted under the Labour Party that won the election, most of them have ported into APC so that they will keep sharing largesses that comes from distribution of our national cake. It is a pity. I wish you guys watched Barrister Anambra at Rise Television 4 days ago. The guy, what he said volumes. He said this is a decadent society that we have found ourselves. It's actually a decadent society where a governor who should show honor and integrity ports to another political party, abandoning the so-called ideology that fuels political activism. In UK, for example, do you know this, the Conservative and the Labour Party, do you know they have, the way they knot their ties are different. So you look at somebody, even in his dressing, you know that this is a Conservative. The knotting is different. You don't talk about Americans. You don't talk about potting. Because you're born with an ideology. You are born with notions of equity. You're born with issues of migration. Whether you like abortion, whether you don't like abortion, and all that and all that. There are things that we shouldn't be talking about in public fora. We should no longer be eulogizing, trying to make the governors look like they are elephants, and that whatever they say the masses will take. It is a wrong notion. Absolutely a wrong notion. I wish I could just put that television podcast, what to say, and people will watch it. It's a terrible state of mind that we are in. And our legislators, people who make our laws, have not tried to correct that mischief. There's something they call mischief in law. When you see there's a gap in enabling law, you try to close that gap, because every law has an escape valve. The idea of a perfect law is to close that escape valve.
Talking about closing that escape valve, Barrister, can't we close the escape valve so that politicians will stop junketing from
That is what I'm saying. What I'm saying.
Can't it be closed? Permanently shut.
Why are you, the Supreme Court said, in their wisdom, that the choice, that the ability to correct a sitting governor is at the turn of next election where you vote him out. But that is a layman's point.
So what's happening to
Let me just give me the opportunity to just drop my point here. That is not a legal activism that we're taught in school. The legal activism is even in your judgment, even in consideration and evaluation of your judgment, you stretch the law in such a manner that it achieves the purpose for which the makers of that law intended. They may have failed by drafting, legal draftsmanship could fail. It is the job of the judiciary through legal activism to close such minor gaps that exist in legislative pieces of action. So what they should have done, what should have been done, if the judiciary is not closing the gap, the National Assembly should have enacted a law that looks like Section 68 IJ in such a manner that it affects also the governors, so that the governor must stand out and defend the constituents that voted him. It's a matter of legitimacy, integrity. There's no politician in Nigeria that has never potted.
None.
In Anambra State. And that's
No, don't say it, except in Anambra State. There's no APGA was a later creation from the energies left behind by PDP.
I know.
So there's no politician you name of quality and character that has not potted before from one political party. I know the people who have moved from APGA to PDP and back to APGA. Okay. So it's a universal type.
It's okay, but where I'm going with that is why I mentioned APGA is that we have not seen any governor in Anambra State, APGA governor, that defected with the people's mandate to another political party. Have we seen that?
That's never happened.
So what is the strength of APGA? Let's come home. What is the strength of APGA when it comes to this kind of defection? Even the mass defection of people moving from APGA, sometimes it's the people moving to APGA, they don't move out of APGA most times. So what is the secret?
The secret is that we are people-oriented, leadership. The leadership of the APGA in Anambra State is people-oriented. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. And it's because the people are at home with the conduct of the party when it comes to delivering democratic dividends. Because leadership is all about service to the people. It's all about providing good governance. The APGA government in Anambra State, since the emergence, its emergence in the state, has continued to provide good governance. It has continued to reach out to the people. It has become a people-oriented, administration, from P2B to Obiano and to the current solution of our time, who is doing marvelously well. That is the manifesto of APGA. It's a people-oriented governance. A government that is key to provide good governance. The people that looks about the welfare of the people. What is the need for any governor to move out of the party? What are you looking for? Whatever you need, the support is there. You are with the people. You are providing for the people what they need. It is only you move because you are no longer with the people. And you needed an external force that will triumph you to the next level.
Dominic, so now these issues that you've highlighted, these bullet points you've highlighted, What stops APGA from taking it further, capturing regions and then going national? If national, the headquarters of APGA is in the state, in Abuja. Yes. So we should be going, or rather APGA should be doing better than we are doing in just Anambra State. So if this is the ideology of APGA, yes, it should spread.
Thank you for the question. And let me just inform you that APGA is not just a political party. It's a movement. It's a movement that is gradually consolidating in order to harness its potential. Remember that APGA have once won Imo State. Do you understand? And later the governor then defected
to APC.
To APC because he did not instill the ideology of the party in him. So we are making every effort, and you can see the state where we are controlling now, Anambra State. In most places where we have National Assembly members, House of Rep members, they are all doing fantastic. Rome was not built in a day. Do you understand? We are consulting, especially the current governor we have today, Professor Charles Masoludo. He's doing everything humanly possible, to consolidate the ideology of the party and integrate it into the party faithfuls. It is better to have 10 persons that believe in your ideology than to have thousands that doesn't understand where the ship is heading to. And I must tell you, APGA is coming stronger and stronger in the next coming days.
Mm-hmm.
So we are expecting the presidential aspirant come 2027?
Of course.
Okay.
Everything put together.
That is for sure.
Yeah, as we are getting ready to go, let's finalize with coming home, Barrister Arukwe, concerning the APGA stance that we have started mentioning it. Okay, sometime during the primary political party primary elections, I was privileged to talk to one of the big political party weeks that is in a different party, not in APGA. And then I was asking him, this 1 hour of you at home, I hope you're not coming to hijack APGA from us. Well, he told me that this is just that they just want to fulfill all righteousness, that Anambra has a peculiar pattern of politics. That is the Anambra people that determines who governs them. No matter where you are coming with your might, that the people that determine who stays where are the stakeholders in Anambra that they don't even know their names. That's another thing he mentioned. He said, haven't you seen that even if you are from another political party and win National Assembly or anywhere, you still come back home and align with your governor? And that's the kind of politics that Anambra State play here. So why do you think it's so? Barrister Arukwe.
Well, I think this panel is turning the thing into a political... defection. No, it's still not defection we are discussing, because at the time I was lost about how my colleague was stealing virtues of APGA and all that, and the debate has...
based on the question he was asked. Is it that APGA governors don't defect?
We're almost losing the efficacy of the moment. The issue we are here to discuss is, what do we do in such a manner that it is not easy for you to cross carpet? It is not easy for you to defeat the convictions of the constituents by you jumping ship. They normally say, like I mentioned it before, it is the rat that jumps a sinking ship. Those people, do they have virtues? Those people who have potted and they have allowed the masses to wallow in poverty. These are the things we came to discuss.
Most politicians don't have
there's no time for us to discuss that this party is doing very well and this party is not doing well. That is mundane. It's actually very small item on the menu. What is of greater moment, if you had watched that Arise television, is a national issue that they brought up. Anambra State is just a small state
But we are part of the national, and we are talking about party defection.
We are looking at. What do we do?
We brought Anambra as an example.
I was told that we have a lot of gaps in our system, in our legal system, in the constitution, that our lawmakers should have cured that defect. Tomorrow, Umahi was elected under PDP. Tomorrow, he's still sitting there. He jumps into APC. You don't do it in a civilized country. It cannot happen in a civilized environment.
Okay. All right.
It doesn't.
I think the task is providing legal aspects.
It's not just legal aspects.
I think the question you raised, he was economical about it. The truth is very simple. Why this scenario is different from Anambra State is that we operate a very disciplined political, system. We have zoning in Anambra, and that zoning is working. And because most governors we have in the state are people-oriented governors who are attending to the needs of the people. Therefore, for you to form an opposition, you must find a fault. It is only when there is fault that we can now say, I'm coming to form an opposition against the governor. But the governor is doing marvelously well. Therefore, there is no credible opposition. Even as we went into 2025 election, just like a walkover. Because APGA has done tremendously well.
You're going to pay me for campaign.
No. We're just trying to state the obvious. Now you asked the question, and your council was providing the legal aspect of it, and I needed to provide the political aspect of it.
Yes. It was a good combination.
That was what happened.
Thank you very much. But we'll have to go. We're completely out of time. Thank you. Yes, AJ. Let's go.
Well, thank you so much for being here talking about the ills in our political arena, where we have people that, for no fault of theirs, they came out and then chose to participate, and then we voted them, and now they have taken our mandate to other parties, talking about Nigeria's season of mass political party defections. And then we had Barrister Chris Arukwe, a public affairs analyst and a barrister. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. And then Dominic Okabwe, Okabwe by
Dominic Okabwe of the Okabwe brothers. The Okabwe brothers.
Our public affairs analyst. Thank you so much. And also a politician too. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
It's always good to have you around. And then I want to say to Nigerians, in the Anambra watching, I think we are the major stakeholders, sincerely speaking. Our governors, our House of Rep members, the likes of them might defect to wherever, but the ideology is enshrined in our hearts to know where to put our thumb when the next election comes. Let your conscience be your guide and not these people. Well, that's the much I can say on this issue. I still remain Ajiruchukwu Okabwe.
My name is Ijama Uche. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Tomorrow, it's another day. Bye for now.